If it's bull or bear, I don't care. It's quite a rough ride, just like life. But I'm kinda patient, 'cause only time will tell. It's gonna go up, so you better stay calm. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. It's been a while. And, I would love to be able to just go live and, just kind of go for broke with everything. But unfortunately, I'm stuck having to pre-record stuff and publish it and upload it and do all that due to my slow internet here in Florida. But there's been a lot of uncertainty about the market and what's been going on. And I didn't want to do a video until I felt like I at least had a pretty decent grasp of what was likely, where we're going to go from here, what it means, why, all that fun stuff. There's obviously some speculation, but we're going to go over it. There's something fun that I wanted to share with everybody from Citigroup from like 2005, 2006 that I thought could be relevant to some degree about some of the things that have been going on for the past couple years. And there's been a lot happening. And I to some degree, I will say this, I am still very bullish. I'm just going to put that out there. However, I'm also trying to be smart. And just to put it all out there, I've sold my crypto. And I'm basically looking for an opportunity to buy back in. Why? Well, being in what I do, if we are in fact in a bear market that's going to continue on for a year, 2 years, however long, basically what I make is what I have. That's it. So and I've done a lot, and it's been a little more nerve-wracking for me because this is ultimately my job. This is what I do. I research, I invest long-term, I hold long-term, and then I do YouTube. And so if the market comes crashing down and I watch everything I've earned go to nothing or drop 80%, then I've gained nothing in all the time and years and so forth and so on, right? YouTube revenue dries up faster than the Sahara Desert. And so I have to try and play things a little more aggressively and take some what ended up being very wise decisions. But ultimately, I ended up selling Bitcoin at 46 grand. I sold my Ethereum at 4 grand, and I sold my ADA. Yes, I did. I sold that at $1.46. And now that's not to say that I don't plan on buying back in. I do. But I felt very strongly at the time that things were going to continue going further down. And these aren't decisions that I made lightly. These are decisions that I made after a couple of mental breakdowns, several bottles of scotch over the course of a week and a half, not being able to sleep at night, you name it. Okay. Just stress beyond stress. And my wife has tried to be exceedingly supportive in the decisions that I'm making. And when leading up to now, my forecasts for profit potential were much, much higher than they have been, especially when I sold. And, I could basically buy back into ADA right now and probably get like 350,000 free ADA. Okay. So just to put things into perspective. And so the question here is, can we go lower, and how much lower? Or is there an opportunity for this all to be one big show? For this all to be one big shakeout of people who basically haven't been through a cycle before, don't necessarily understand what to look for, what to expect. When do you get confirmation enough that things are going to go lower than they are right now to say maybe now's the time to sell before buying back in? And that's what this video is about. It's not to convince you either way. It's to basically give you some of my thought process and basically to help you kind of see what might be happening and what to look for to give you an opportunity to say, okay, if I sell now, this might be a good time to get back in, or this might be a good time to just call it quits until the next bull market or until we find the bottom. And we're going to talk all about that now. So if we're looking at the market, obviously Bitcoin's down almost 12% just in the last 7 days. Currently trading at 37,131. Ethereum's at 2457, down 23.5%. Binance token, I mean, I feel like Binance token does well regardless. I mean, it's amazing to think, Binance token at one point, I mean, I was watching it at $20 and I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable buying Binance token at $20. Now, those who got into Binance token when they first launched, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what a lot of those guys are holding right now. Cardano's currently trading at $1.10, down 28.94% overall. So it's funny because Cardano's price has been affected pretty deeply, but if we look at the metrics, on-chain staking, pool delegation, so forth, not much has changed. What's moving the price right now, in my opinion, I mean, look at Solana. Man, Solana has not been doing well at all. $94. I mean, I get that Solana's had a lot of issues with hacks and it's more centralized, and it's like I've never been a fan of Solana personally. I know that a lot of people got in and love it, and they try to and I know there's some weird thing between Solana and Cardano, and it's like, to me, there's no competition. There's not even a comparison between the two, frankly. Not on really any stretch of the imagination, but I guess I don't know, it's almost like Mr. T in the Rocky movies when he's trying to come up and he starts calling out ADA, or he starts calling out Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, like, give me a shot, fool. And tries to make himself more relevant than he really was. But it is what it is. But it's down 32.78% over the last 7 days. Now, before I get even further into this, I wanted to share this with you. This is something I would love for you guys to Google yourself. I'm not going to go through this whole thing because it's quite large. And there's a lot of information in here. But ultimately, I'm going to read some of the summary here and send you about your merry way to look this up yourself. You can Google this as Citigroup 2005-2006 leaked memo. Okay. And I'm just going to read the summary to give it, because it explains a lot of it just in the summary, and you can dive deeper from here. The world is dividing into two blocks, the plutonomy and the rest. The US, UK, and Canada are the key plutonomics, economics powered by the wealthy. Continental Europe, ex-Italy, and Japan are in the egalitarian block. Equity risk premium embedded in global imbalances are unwarranted. In plutonomics, the rich absorb a disproportionate chunk of the economy and have a massive impact on reported aggregate numbers like savings rates, current account deficits. I'm reading letters that are super small for me to see, and my vision's not that great. Yes, I still need to get better glasses. I will at some point. Aggregate numbers like savings rates, current account deficits, consumption levels, etc. The imbalance and inequality expresses itself in the standard, scary global imbalances. We worry less. Basically, the rich just do what they want, ultimately. There is no average consumer in a plutonomy. Consensus analysis focusing on the average consumer are flawed from the start. The Plutonomy stock basket outperformed MSCI AC World by 6.8% per year since 1985. Does even better if equities beat housing. Select names, so forth and so on. But basically what this goes on to discuss is how there's like this plutonomy. Basically the wealthy control everything. And the rest of the public really is useless. They do nothing. They are nothing. We're not worth anything. However, what we maintain over the few, the very wealthy few, is voting. Is that we have the power of a vote, which can change things on a dime, and we can change the direction wherever we ultimately want it to go. But remember, this was in 2005, 2006. What has changed, do you think, in your opinion, just in the last couple of years, or in the last year, really? How do you think this could be playing out today? I highly encourage you to educate yourself a bit on the mindset of some of these large banking groups and get an idea as to where their heads are to help you better understand how to prepare for certain things and how you might want to change your thinking so that it's kind of like walk a mile in somebody else's shoes to better understand who they are, what they're about, so forth and so on. This is a very large pair of shoes that I feel everybody should take a look at and walk around in for a while. And I think it'll give you some perspective that you might not have otherwise had. So now, before I get into some of this other stuff, this is Bitcoin currently. Now, this is Bitcoin on a weekly chart. All right. And this is the logarithmic curve that we've never touched into the blue. I did change this to red, white, and blue because, you know, hey, USA. Now, on a weekly chart, this here was my haphazard kind of, I just drew this to symbolize what I thought could potentially happen between now and June. And so far, it's not looking too bad. The question is, do we bounce from here and then start to go back up? Right now, this orange line here, this is the 200 moving average on a weekly chart, has always proven to be the bottom of the price before we start moving into. Typically, this is touched in a bear market. If we look at history, you can see, you know, here we are. This was March of 2020. We wicked much lower, but we ultimately touched this before we moved up. Here, we touched it before we moved up. This was down from the 2017 peak of that bull market. And as we continued to move down, all the way down here, we finally touched and we bottomed out here on the 200 moving average. This has been pretty solid ever since. I mean, that's it. Okay. Anytime we touch that, that's been a bottom. Now, where we're at right now in Bitcoin's price, there's still quite a ways to go. If we were to touch it today, Bitcoin's price would be at about 20 grand. So what we're basically saying is right now we're trading at 37,000, but ultimately the bottom, if the bottom were to wick down and happen today, the bottom would be about $20,000. So it's very likely that Bitcoin's price is never going to fall below $20,000 again. Okay. The reality of this situation is if this were not to take effect and it did to continue traveling down, well, this moving average would travel up as well. Okay. So unless we had significant wicks to the downside on a weekly chart or on a weekly candle, it's very likely that the Bitcoin bottom would be somewhere around 25, 26,000. That's still a guess. Okay. I'm not convinced that we're going to touch this wick because I think what's happening right now is guys like this potentially manipulating the market through derivatives, through leverage, through short liquidations, long liquidations. It's the market makers. It's the people in power that have the resources to move the market in such a way that we are preparing and using this as a reason to put fear in the minds of the retail public. And I believe that some of this is in preparation for the potential launch of the CBDC, the central bank digital crypto, the digital currency, if you will. It's not even going to be a decentralized, but I am going to go through this article And then we're going to touch on some other things. Now, reports over the weekend suggest that U.S. President Biden is going to introduce an executive order for cryptocurrencies at the beginning of February. The order is expected to span across government and plans to weigh up the benefits and disadvantages of digital assets, alongside implementing a reporting system for government on cryptocurrencies. Officials are yet to confirm the rumor. I'm pretty sure it's more than a rumor. What has been confirmed is that there have been several top-level meetings with senior figures at the White House relating to the subject, and it is speculated further details are expected to be outlined by Biden next week. White House pundits have suggested that there may be an additional focus on central bank digital currencies as a component of the directive, which would seek to clarify the American government's position following the quick rise of the Chinese digital yuan. The tumultuous passage of a tax to the infrastructure deal last summer has left a bad taste in the industry's mouth and created a sentiment that Democrat policymaking under Biden views cryptos as a cash cow. Well, that's obvious. I mean, but here's the thing: the initial taxes came from Trump. I mean, Trump is I was so pissed when Trump basically signed that executive order and just started taxing the hell out of crypto. And I'm like, this is terrible. They're taxing something they don't even know how to regulate or don't even know how to deal with. And that was pretty early on in Trump's presidency. So it's not just the Biden administration that might look at crypto as a cash cow. I think any administration is looking at crypto as a cash cow. Why? Because it's a method by which people with very little are turning it into a lot, and the government wants it. And that's it. I don't think that the government, I don't know of any government ultimately that would like to see such a transition of wealth happening. As those not in the know are ultimately trying to scoot by on 5 and 6% annual returns on the traditional stock market. And then you've got, high school dropouts like me who are basically doing life-changing things in the crypto space. Those of you who have been watching my channel since 2017, who I get your letters, I get your emails, I see your messages, I see your videos that you send me, and I love them. I get teary-eyed all the time from watching them. The guy out there who's been grinding his life away building houses brick by brick, busted up, tired, wore out, comes home, can't afford to really do much else with his family because he's got he just wants to take a break because he's been grinding out hard work all day, 12, 13, 14 hours a day sometimes. And now because he's gotten into crypto and he's been accumulating and educating himself, now he doesn't have to work again if he doesn't want to. And now he can live the life that he wants to live. And that empowers people, and that mindset changes the way politics can work. The more we rely on government benefits, government power, government incentives, government this, government that, the better for the government. The bigger the government can get, the more they can do, the more they can get away with, the more control they have over our lives because we give them that control. The governments anywhere in the world, they don't want their people to be wealthy. They don't want their people to do well. The governments want us to rely on them. They want us to depend on them for whatever we want and need. And if they feel that we have too much excess that might help us change our lives for the better, well, they'll just throw a bigger tax on it. And that's the way I look at it. But it's not a right or left thing. It's a government thing, period. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I am not a Biden fan. Okay. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not anything. Okay. I'm really not. I'm a truth seeker. I'm somebody that definitely pays attention to what's going on, and I can see the hypocrisy and the ignorance of a lot in the world, quite frankly. But I'm not against anybody, and I'm not for anybody. If anything, I call it how I see it. Trump was no saint, folks. I mean, just so you know, anybody at that level of politics, I just don't trust, quite frankly. But there's a lot more to that I'm just not going to get into. Needless to say, many will be looking at the tone of any strategic plan put forward by Biden carefully. But things are different on K Street this year, with the crypto lobby now awake and active, emboldened by a growing awareness and advocacy for cryptocurrencies among the public and legislators. The Hill also now has an increasingly prominent blockchain caucus, one that has already put forward 35 crypto-related bills this Congress. Congressman Ted Emmer explained the ongoing work of the congressional body in a recent interview. In wake of the infrastructure bill fiasco and misguided crypto tax amendment, key members of these committees spoke out and supported legislative fixes, explained the congressman. There are several bipartisan industry-supported proposals on the table, but we have yet to see anything pass out of Congress and get signed into law. We will very likely see this change after the midterm, so it's more important than ever to start preparing our agenda for the next term. Here's what I expect. To be quite frank, from what I've seen from this administration thus far, if there's a way for them to take money out of the public and put it into the hands of a growing government, that's what they're going to do. That's just my opinion. And that scares me. It scares me because I don't know how what they're going to be doing is going to affect the crypto space overall in favor of a central bank digital currency. And if you ask somebody like the Biden appointed Janet Yellen, she doesn't like crypto at all. She thinks it's practically like a menace. There are all kinds of quotes of Janet Yellen in her thoughts on cryptocurrency, and it's not good. And so when you have somebody like her in the ear of Biden and whoever else is running the show, it just doesn't look very good. And I think it's that fear that's ultimately suppressing the market and pushing things down. And the market makers are taking advantage of that. But if you look overall, 70.82% of all Cardano is still delegated to nodes, $25.65 billion worth. People are not dumping. People are holding, and that's great. Crow your coins. I've been crowing my coins for 3 years, and I'm going to end up buying back in more than I originally had, and I'm going to have more, and I'm going to be very happy with that. But the question is what is the executive order going to say? Is it going to start pushing, more clear-cut regulations on XYZ cryptocurrencies? Are there going to be decentralization metrics associated with the specific regulations and who, manages what regulations for what kind of crypto? The thing of it is that the cryptocurrency markets change so drastically fast. I don't know, without having a very specific regulatory body that is, full of not just finance people, but tech people who can keep up with the constant state of change going on in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I don't know how they can effectively plan to properly regulate the space, because what they regulate today could very well be a completely different animal tomorrow. And so that is what concerns me. So when we're looking at the price and we're saying, okay, if this executive order is rumored to come out at the very beginning of February. This is the first of February. It could. This is February 14th, and again, there was no rhyme or reason to me drawing this. It was very random. But if this were somehow to be the big dip, maybe we hit 35.7, and then whatever comes out in February, the public says, okay, you know what? If by some small chance this administration is saying, okay, in order for people to want to adopt this central bank digital currency, we're going to have to make sure that we support the cryptocurrency market as a whole. Because if we start kicking the cryptocurrency market in the pants and everybody holding starts to lose and we leave a bad taste in the mouths of everyone because we're basically blatantly trying to shut down one thing in favor of the one thing that we can control, our own version of programmable money that we can turn on and off at will. If we don't like your social score, well, and I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just speculating. I'm just making up random crazy things that could potentially happen someday in the distant future in Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know. Or do I? And I'm very much concerned. And I think that if they come out and they say, okay, you know what? This is the new. This isn't going away. And we can either start adopting this technology and taking part in it and utilize this as part of our great reset, our great plans for a global financial reset, It's easy to manage. It's easier to track. We're going to be able to manage all sorts of things from new supply lines, supply chains. We're going to be able to use this technology to really change the way the world operates on a global level. So we're going to basically throw you guys a bone, and we're going to say, all right, here you go. We're actually going to try and help this instead of try and put our boot on it. But that's what we're not going to find out until February. And I think that the sentiment that's being established right now is ultimately the play that Janet Yellen doesn't like crypto. A lot of the people in the government don't like crypto. We're trying to establish lobbyist groups and different things to try and help the cryptocurrency space from a political perspective, but that hasn't necessarily been going, flourishingly well. So that's the question. Where do we go from here? So if come February, what Biden comes out with, if him and Janet Yellen come out with, standing behind a big cement wall and they say, hey, this is what we're doing. You're not going to like it, but we do. So suck it. Then we're bear market. I mean, we're not going to recover. We're probably not going to go up from here. If it's at least level-headed and it's productive and what they're putting out there seems to be thought out, well-structured, and something to benefit us all, the government and the people, I don't know how much faith we have based on the way things have been going so far. I have very little, but I have some hope. Then at that point, maybe we see a reversal, and maybe all of this has been a very well-conducted play to put us in the exact mindset we're in, where we're willing to dump a lot of our crypto and bring the prices down so that all of the institutions and all of the people who have a better fundamental understanding, so to speak, as what the elites plan to do and how they all think it's going to transpire and how they can best take advantage of it to screw the little people, well, then maybe those institutions will buy in much cheaper before the news comes out and the price goes up. Now, when am I looking to buy back in? Well, it depends. Obviously, that also depends on the news in February. If insiders have any inkling of what's to come, we might start seeing a little bit of a reversal start to happen before this February release, before this executive order, before anybody else knows what's going on. I wish there was a way to know what some of these politicians were doing in the crypto space. I don't know if there's really a way to find out. I would love to know what these people were buying and what they were doing in the crypto space, because they're going to know before the rest of us do. Now, if I were to buy back in sooner than later, I would have to see a bit of a reversal first. And I would like to see Bitcoin above a 42,000 mark again. And honestly, if what comes out in February is positive and the consensus is things are going well, I might set up a limit order to buy at when it hits a certain price, because I don't want to miss it. However, as of right now, I don't think things look that great. And that's just my personal opinion. And I'm not telling anybody to sell. I'm not telling anybody to buy. I'm not telling anybody what to do whatsoever. I just want to kind of put things into perspective and to give you guys an understanding of where my head's at personally, because ultimately this is the fact. The fact is, if the market is being pushed or just gradually ends up in a bear market, the technological milestones and advancement of any blockchain out there in the market don't mean shit. Why doesn't it mean shit? Because people are more worried about the speculative value of the asset over the technology. The technology drives the price up in a bull market. The accomplishments, the milestones, the partnerships, all that stuff. But during a bear market, you don't even hear about a lot of that because everybody's off to lunch. Either that or their heads are down grinding, building for the next run up so that they have all kinds of new advancements and things to talk about. A lot of people hold their news and their accomplishments back during a bear market because they know there are very few eyes and ears paying any attention anyway. So why waste it? So that is the big question. If we drop down to 32,000, and if something were to happen from here and we drop down to 32,000 and then we start working our way back up a little bit and it's 35, 36 grand again, come February when the news comes out positive, I'll probably end up buying back in. And I'll be and I'll be a happy camper. Or I could wait until Bitcoin hits $52,000, because if it comes back up and it reaches a $52,000 price point, at that point, then it's pretty much confirmed that we are still in a bull market, and this was a temporary lull while we let some of the governmental, the political, the global economic, all of these different things play out before we started getting a big rise up again. And if we do that, I can wait until $52,000, throw my money in there and probably double it between then and June, and be just as happy. I'll have short-term capital gains tax I have to worry about on the difference at that point. But if I double my money, well, then I double my money and I'll just pay the tax. It is what it is. So that's where my head's at. I mean, I don't know how helpful this video ultimately is. We're 30 minutes in, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. This is the stuff that keeps me up. This is the stuff that just drives me absolutely insane. And if I'm looking at this chart here, this is Bitcoin's weekly, Cardano on a daily, and Ethereum on a daily. I mean, you can see Ethereum and Cardano are virtually identical in their price action momentum. I mean, currently trading at $1.08 now. Ethereum's at $2 or $2,452, and you know, but a lot of it's going to be dictated on what happens with Bitcoin. And right now, from its recent high back in November, it's down 53.39%. 53.39%. But if we go over here on a weekly, we've seen other periods where the price has dropped 53% and it has turned around from there. So we are truly at a very definitive point in the crypto market. I am not necessarily convinced yet that we are in a bear market. This could all be one big trap. Maybe I fell into it, but if I did, I fell into it at a much better price point. So I've got room to make a decision. You know, if I were somebody that was still holding at this point, if I were still holding, especially if I haven't been holding a year, I might not worry about selling for a new low from here, even though the price could drop significantly. We could go down another 30%, you know, so we have until Bitcoin meets this line. So, you know, let's just take a look and say, okay, how much could the market still go from here? If we got, another 30%, we could drop another 30%, no problem, if we are to continue in a downward trend. The thing of it is ultimately, if you look at things on a grander picture, it hasn't taken us very long at all to move down, which tells me that it's not quite as natural as we're used to seeing in previous bear markets. And not only that, we didn't get the blow off tops. We didn't get anything we're used to seeing in a bear market or a parabolic run. And with the amount of Bitcoin and some of the top level, level one cryptocurrency blockchains out there, and the money that's in these markets, the amounts being staked or delegated to nodes or being held by long-term investors or whatever, there's really no reason we wouldn't have had a big blow off top if it wasn't due. I just don't necessarily think it's due. I think this is an elongated market. And I think that there's one way or another, dare I say it, but I'm actually hoping for something positive to come out of the Biden camp in February as it relates to crypto, because I think without that, they're going to have a much more difficult time for the public to adopt any true use case with the CBDC. And that's my thoughts. So that's it. I'm just going to upload this, let you guys, I'd really like to know your comments down below. Obviously be wary of people. If I'm commenting, talking about WhatsApp or whatever garbage in the comments below, that's obviously not me. It's an impersonator. They're all over. I don't know how many messages I get on Twitter and Telegram and just every social platform, all the YouTubers, we're all dealing with it. There's so many impersonators. Chances are, if any YouTuber you like is running around the internet asking you for shit, it's obviously a scammer. It's not us, because we don't need your shit. We do pretty well at getting our own. So just keep that in mind. Anytime anything pops up on the web and it looks too good to be true, chances are it probably is. So on that note, grow your coins, guys. I hope everything finds you well. I'm sorry it's been a while. I'm going to try and get active. I do have a list of videos that I want to make as I dive deeper into the Cardano ecosystem moving forward. But I don't want to get anybody all hyped up and pumped up if there might be an opportunity to lose some money from here. I would rather tell people, hey, if we're truly in a bear market, wait until Bitcoin gets closer to this 200 moving average on a weekly chart. See where your favorite altcoin is then, and start accumulating from that point. because that's probably going to be as cheap as you're probably ever going to get it from that day forward. The odds are in that favor in that sense, and you'll do substantially better. So until next time, guys, I'll update you soon. Thanks for joining me. Grow your coins.